na miteki ikambo na salite bakopanzanga sango Kinshasa mobimba bakotongoka kombo na ngai ekomango lisolo ya bato soki bakolia po batongoko bafingaka nsima basambwisanga nazali na mobali oya kokanga na makambo maso nalingaka naye lelo na lopango na bino mpo nayebisa yo oyebisa baninga na yo banda lelo bosukisa na kombo nanga ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki ayekotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya katie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki ayekotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya katie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa
Good evening, folks. Sam Cinto, Libra Pobrito. I want to thank all of you again for tuning into Libra Pobrito. We appreciate it. Thank you tonight. It's a very special one, but safety first, folks. Lord Jesus, we want to thank you again this evening for bringing us together. We thank you for your protection. We thank you for your mercy. Lord Jesus, you continue to protect us. Despite all of the disease, we're still here. We say thank you. My Lord, we ask you to continue to protect us as our brothers, sisters, mothers, daughters, fathers are all going to work in these kinds of conditions. Yet still, with your protection, they have the faith in you that you will protect them. And we ask you, my Lord, to continue to protect them. Lord Jesus, you know, we, the Liberian diaspora, we have two tables. One table here in the diaspora to feed, and another table back home to feed. And so we're not working, my Lord, just because we want to bluff. We're working because we have to feed two tables. And because of the faith we have in you, we go to work and working. And we ask you to protect us as we're working for the family back home as well as family here. Lord Jesus, only through your mercy that we're still here. Lord, we ask you to bless the country, Liberia. We ask you to bless the leaders of Liberia. Give them wisdom to do good for our people. My Lord, we ask you to bless the host country, the United States of America. Amen. Thank you, folks. Sam Cinto, Libra Pobrito. I'm very excited here tonight. But as usual, we're going to go ahead and start our program the way we usually start the program. I have with me tonight, it's a very good friend of mine. But before that, we know who the leader is. This is the president of the Republic of Liberia, Dr. Weah, who is the president of the Republic of Liberia, duly elected, didn't come to the position through the back door. Despite Sam Cinto was yelling and screaming, I don't want this man to be president. The Liberian people said, no, Mr. To, thank you, but this is the man we want. So who am I to say I don't respect the view of my brothers and sisters? I respect the president. I respect the view of my brothers and sisters. And he's my president. I will criticize, but I must do so with responsibility. I will criticize, but I must do so with respect. Because every one of you that are watching me tonight can sit in that office tomorrow. And then when you become president at the time, you want people to respect you? No, you respect the office now. You respect the president now. So that when your time comes, they will do the same thing for you. Is it too hard to understand? Sam Cinto. Folks, Sam Cinto. I'm very excited here tonight to have with me a very good friend of mine, and but I will be bringing you on here very shortly. So bear with me. Let's go through the protocol here of how we do our show. So, folks, that is Dr. Weah, the president of the Republic of Liberia, and tonight we're going to have with us here a young man, an engineer, Mr. Smith, will be our guest here. And Mr. Smith, who is the president of the current president of the Liberian Society, Engineer Society of Liberia. I better get it right because Mr. Smith will not let me come back to visit him again. But anyway, he's a very good friend of mine, a former acting Minister of Public Works, also Deputy Minister of Public Works as well. And Mr. Smith has done well. He has his office in Liberia. He runs his own engineering company, Alliance. He's been doing it now for almost 10 years or so. And so, but he'll tell us. But he's a very good friend. And when Mr. Smith was here, he used to be a bridge engineer here for another state. I'm not going to say it, but he will tell all of that. So Mr. Smith, being the president of the Engineering Society of Liberia, we had him here the last time, but it was so late that it was just ridiculous to keep him up. Of course, he was willing, and he gave us information. So, folks, without going any further on this wonderful, wonderful program, let's now go ahead and see if we can have Mr. Smith to tell us who Mr. Smith is. Mr. Smith, can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening, Samson. This is Victor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. You can hear me too?
Yes, but I think we're picking up echo again tonight. But let me see where the echo is coming from. But go ahead. Could you just briefly introduce yourself, especially with the new position that many people are not quite aware of? So can you just briefly introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, again, good evening, Samson, too, and also thank you for inviting me again on your platform this evening. And I'm not a new person to your platform.
Mr. Smith, I'm not too sure. Can you perhaps lower the mic because the echo is coming from your end?
Okay, let me see. Let me see what's happening here.
Because we went through this here the last time.
Yeah, let me see what's going on.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. So since it's a laptop that you're talking in, so you're probably going to do us a favor here tonight by bending closer to the mic because the laptop mic, yeah, something like that. And then lower the mic, that way we can pick you up very clearly. Because I know you have some very important things you want to talk to us about, and I would really like for my audience to hear you as well. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. You can hear me too, right?
Okay.
Is the echo gone now?
Yes. Okay.
It's fine, right?
Okay. This is what I'm going to do, Mr. Smith. Like I said, we're here. We're gonna do other stuff here. So just sit tight. I'm going to do another magic trick here from my end. But in the meantime, let me just put music up here, and then you and I can try because I want your audio to be very clear here tonight. So just bear with me 1 minute while I try to bring you the clearer message of our folks. Samson to Liberian Public Radio.
Yanga molimo na miteki ikambo na sali te bakopanzanga sango Kinshasa mobimba bakotongoka kombo na ngai ekomango lisolo ya bato soki bakolia po batongoko bafingaka nsima basambwisanga nazanga te nazali na mobali oyo akokanga na makambo maso nalingaka naye lelo na lopango na bino mpo nayebisa yo oyebisa baninga na yo banda lelo bosukisa na kombo nanga ezali mobali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki ekotala yo mosala na
Mr. Smith, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you loud.
Okay, much better. Like I said, we're going to try our best to do what we can here tonight. So let's go ahead, Mr. Smith. Just briefly introduce yourself once again. If you can help us out, I appreciate it. I appreciate your patience. But of course, somebody who's been like, bro, all these years, you should be patient, especially with Samson too. Go ahead, Mr. Smith. Could you please just briefly introduce yourself again?
Okay, as I was saying from the beginning, I said thank you again for welcoming me to your platform again. I'm not new here, so I can't go through the detailed introduction again, but it's just a little portfolio that is added there. I'm now the president of the Engineering Society of Liberia, an umbrella organization established in 1976. It's about 45 years old now. And previously, the president was Thomas Pengawan, and then that was followed by before then it was so I'm now at the leadership level of the organization. And that's why I am now working for the Engineering Society of Liberia. So that's the added thing to my portfolio since I last talked to you. But this organization, as I said, it's been in existence for the last 45 years. And it was established under the then Minister of Public Works, Gabriel Toko. And permanent engineers were all members of that particular organization, like the great Aaron Milton, Winston Richards, they were there at Public Works, and Normal, Bill Cooper. These are all the engineers, touch-not engineers that have been working with the Minister of Public Works for quite a while. And seeing the need that the engineering profession is a noble profession that's supposed to be men and also hold the engineers to the ethics of that practice. So they established the engineering society of Liberia. But then since then, the organization been very, very quiet until lately we started. 2 days first, he had a committee to review the Constitution. The Constitution was reviewed, and the initial bill was sent to the House. If I'm not mistaken, it was the 52nd or the 51st legislature, and the bill passed at the lower house. But then because it didn't reach it to the upper house, to the House of Senate, so the bill got stalled. And then the process is that if a bill is introduced during a particular period and it is not done, then it means you got to start again. So this year we started again. We had a significant program, the War Engineering Day, as referred to as the WE Day. On that day, it was March 4th of this year. We presented the act again to the chairperson on the Committee of Public Works. And then we had an indoor program where we had a competition between the universities to give us a conceptual design for the future home of ESO. Stella Marie came up very well with some design. In fact, the University of Liberia did not show up. I think they had an issue. But they had a very good concept that we'll be looking at. And then we will start fundraising to build the future home of ESO. So that where we are now. We had our convention. One of the team, no engineer left behind, and was in Buchanan. very
a very
successful
successful
convention.
convention.
The
The
engineers
engineers
were
were
able
able
to
to
raise
raise
money
money
around
around $20,000
$20,000
during
during
the
the convention.
convention.
And now
And
we
now
are in
we
the
are in the
process
process
of
of
becoming a
becoming a
member
member
of
of
the
the
West African
West African
Federation of
Federation of Engineering
Engineering
Society organizations,
and
and
also by
also by
extension
extension
will be
will
member of
be
the
member of
World
the World
Federation of
Federation of
Engineering
Engineering
Organization.
Organization.
And let me
And
give
let
you
me give you
a
a
little
little
insight
insight
around the
around the
World
World
Federation of
Federation of
Engineering
Engineering
Organization.
Organization.
In
In
1958,
1958, under
auspices
the
of
auspices
UNESCO,
of UNESCO,
which is
which
the
is the
United
United
Nations
Nations
Education and
Education and
Culture
Cultural
Foundation.
Foundation.
They
They
established
established
March 4,
March 4,
1954.
1954. The Federation Engineering Society was established as a non-political, non-governmental organization
To
to
put
bring
together
together
all
all the mortar
multidisciplinary
disciplines in
engineering.
engineering.
And it was from
And
this
it was from this
backdrop
backdrop
that the
that the
organization was
organization
set
was
up,
set up,
because
because
the
the
17
17
millennium
millennium
goal
goal
that is being
that is being
set
set
aside by the
aside by
United
the United
Nations.
Nations.
They
They
felt
felt
that,
that,
and
and it's a
matter of
matter of
fact,
fact,
that engineers
that engineers play
very
a very
important role
important role
in
in
reaching our
reaching our
goal in
goal in
2030,
2030,
which
which
year
year they
doing
will be
that.
doing that.
In
In
2018,
2018,
under the
under the
UNESCO
UNESCO
again,
again,
a
a
resolution
resolution
was
was
introduced
introduced
at the General
at the
Assembly
General
level,
Assembly level,
and the
and the
resolution was
resolution was
passed.
passed.
Liberia be a
Liberia, be a
funding of the
funding
United
of the United
Nations,
Nations, was
was one
also
of the
one of the
countries
countries
that
that
backed that
backed that
resolution.
resolution.
And
And
in
in
2019, the
2019, the
first
first
World
World
Engineering Day
Engineering
was
Day was
celebrated.
celebrated.
And
And
now
now
in
in
2020,
2020,
in
no, in
2020,
2020,
and
and
then
then
this is the
this is
second
the
one in
second one in
2021.
2021.
So that
So
where
that
we
where we
are
are,
and
and
where
where
we
we
are now, the
are now,
great
the great
awareness
awareness
is
is
now on
now
its
on
way
its
in
way in
Liberia.
Liberia.
We have
We have
we have a lot
a
of
lot of
events planned
events
for this
planned for
year,
this year,
and we have
and
just
we have just
executed two of
executed
it.
two of it.
And the
And the
next
next
one will
one
be
will be
planning
planning for, will
the
be the
honoring
honoring
of
of
all
all
the
the
veteran
veteran
engineers
engineers
that have
that have
made
made
substantial
substantial
contribution
contribution
to
to
the
the
practice of
practice of
engineering in
engineering in
Liberia,
Liberia,
especially the
especially the
establishment of the
establishment of the
engineering
engineering
school in
school in
1974.
1974.
So that
So
where
that
we
where we
are,
are,
um,
um,
I'm in the
I'm in the
States.
States.
One of my
One of my
target
target
here is
here
to
is
meet
to
with
meet
the
with the
president
president of ESO,
of the Engineering
the Engineering
Society,
Society,
Liberia Engineering
Library Engineering
Society of
Society of
America.
America.
I learned
I
the
learned the
last
last
time the
time the
president was
president was,
what is the
what is the
guy's
guy's
name? I
name? I
forgot his
forgot his
name.
name, but
Where?
No,
no,
Christopher
Christopher,
Wee
we
was
was
one of
one
the
of the
founding
founding
members.
member.
In
In
fact,
fact,
myself, I
myself, I
wanted
one of
to
the founding member, because we found
was
it was
established
established
in
in
2005.
2005.
Was
It was
established,
established,
and we wrote
and
the
we wrote
first
the first
constitution.
constitution, the first founding member.
But
But
I think
I
we is
think we
back.
is back.
So
So
he's now
he's
the
now the
president
president
again.
again.
Oh,
Oh,
Edmond. Edmond was
Edmond was
the
the
last
last
president
president before
before
we. I
we
think
are
we have to
back.
come back.
So
So
that's
that's
where we
where we
are.
are. I will
Trying
try
to
to
reach
reach
out to
out to
Joshua
Joshua
Stubblefield
Stubblefield
and
and
Victor
Victor
Dennis.
Dennis.
Those are
Those are
permanent
permanent
members of
members of
the
the
Liberia Engineering
Library Engineering
Society in
Society in
America,
America,
ALUSA.
Alusa.
So we
So
can
we
see
can
how
see how
best we
best
can
we
start
can start
working
working
together
together
again and
again and
making
making
engineering,
engineering,
well known in
well known in
Liberia.
Liberia.
So that's a
So
little
that's a
bit of
little bit
synopsis
of
of what we're
synopsis of
doing
what we're
now.
doing now. So
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you for that wonderful information. It's an interesting subject matter tonight because we ourselves are quite much more involved into engineering as well. But let me ask you this. I know you guys, this organization in Liberia, engineering in Liberia, how many members do you have?
yeah,
On the
on the
books,
books
we
we
got a
got a
little
little
over
over
400
400
members.
members.
For
For
active,
active,
because of the
because of the
awareness,
awareness,
I think
I think
active we
active
are
we
on
are
a
on 100.
but
But
for the
for
last
the last
past
past
events
events
that we
that
have
we have
had,
had,
most of the
most
engineers
of the
have
engineers have
returned
returned
and
and have
decided to
decided to take
active
active
part in the
part in the
organization.
organization.
So
So
on the
on the
books, we
books
have
we have
400
400
Liberian
Liberian
registered
registered
engineers, both
engineers, both
Liberian and
Liberian
foreigners.
and foreigners.
Of the 400 members you have, and perhaps you might most likely might not have all the information, but I will still ask anyway. Of the 4 member engineering you have in Liberia, how many of those members are currently involved into engineering practices in Liberia right now as we speak?
Basically, we have a lot of young people that group themselves into different engineering firms. But the issue is that you don't have a pure engineering design firm in Liberia because of the size of the business in Liberia. So most of the engineering firms you find, they are either mixed use, they are either they do construction, they do design, they do studies. But on the general, most of the engineers are either working with LEC, Public Works, Telecom, and then a very few of us who used to work for government before will have come out now and say, okay, we got to go back to the private sector. So you have Alliance, you have GNL International, you have Smart Pro that is doing almost a $12 million job. They're doing the new Redemption Hospital and they're doing the Enfield main office. Then you have BK, you have another group. They're too mixed because they just completed doing the wiring, doing the lines from Banga all the way to Ganta. I think David Wonwo is involved with that company. So yes, most of them are practicing, you know.
So,
And then you
Mr.
have
Smith,
lateral law.
I hate to do this, but I want my audience to have some facts here. Of those people you just named, do you have engineer in Liberia that are considered to be front
Consider to be what?
of front of company that is not of Liberian origin? In other words, Lebanese company, Ghanaian company, Nigerian company, that are then they have you or have another Liberian to say, why don't you be in the front, a front company? In other words, you got nothing to do but to be the face of the company where the real work and the money is going to the foreigner. Do you have that kind of situation happening in Liberia that you know of?
It might be happening, but I cannot lay my hand on it. You know that yeah, these sort of people are fronting for a particular company. But you know that the liberalization law states that you cannot front for a foreign company, and that would be a violation of the law. So if they are doing it, they are either doing it clandestinely, okay, and and they are not yet being caught. But yes, the possibility that some of the Liberian engineers or the Liberians they are fronting for some of these companies.
So
I'm not getting my hand on it. I got my hand on it completely,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to put these things out front. Then we can go into the policies of your organization, what have you, because I know you also being someone at the hierarchy of the engineering business with respect to government in Liberia. The last time here, the late Mambutu was on another platform where he told the audience that Liberians, and especially Liberian construction engineering firm and everything else into infrastructure, they are not spectators in their home. They are, in fact, key players. So, Mr. Smith, you also being an acting minister of public work, you know the in and out of working of the public work ministry. The question that I have for you right now is, and now you're serving from the private sector now. Are Liberian engineers and construction people in Liberia, are they spectators in their own country or they're getting the fair share of the government projects?
It depends on where you look at it from, where you sit.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith,
Yeah, but what I
Mr. Smith,
now, yeah,
Mr.
let me
Smith,
answer the question.
Mr. Smith, please.
Yeah.
You have once served at a higher level of this industry. So don't tell me where I sit. I can sit in Total. I can sit in any part of it. It doesn't matter. You tell me whether Liberians are spectators in your own country from your own perspective. Because Mr. Smith, let's give it to you. You left from here, lucrative position, a bridge engineer here in the United States. Yet no reason for you to say if you were to stay here, yeah, I know you're not suffering, but there's no reason that you can't get what you want being a bridge engineer here in the United. But you took off and said you wanted to go back home to contribute. So I know you're there, and I know you know the inside and outside. Mr. Smith, I ask you again, are Liberian engineers and the construction industry in Liberia, belonging to the Liberian, are they spectators in their own country?
Now you want me to answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. That's why I was saying, in the private sector, right? You have two type of people that are giving up jobs. You have the international organizations, right? The private people, the private individuals, and then you have the government. In the private sector, where the private or the international organizations giving projects, like take for example USAID, right? It is based on the selection is based on competence. Okay, in the public sector, 9 out of the 10 times, most of these jobs are already fixed. Either they have somebody who are being earmarked to do the job, and just to fulfill the procurement processes, right? They will just put it up in the paper. And some of these companies will be foreign companies, or will be owned by foreigners in the country. Yes. Another case in point that I can prove that in those instances we are spectators are most of the big projects that are being run by the World Bank, or the classic example just the other day, Millennium Challenge. How do they do it? The qualifying criteria that they have in these tender documents are very difficult to attain. You know what I'm saying? So for that matter, most of the time, I cannot even lay my hand beside the one we did. It was just at the tail end to do traffic count and do structural analysis for bridges and crossing structures for the Millennium Challenge to build on the models for public works. Most of the big projects were given to foreign nationals. There's a Danish company now in Liberia that is even doing the pipeline that connects the White Plains to Monrovia. Okay? So yes, in some instances we are still spectators. But again, we ourselves now have to be able to qualify ourselves to meet up with some of the criteria that is being asked for in these standard documents.
So then let me push back on this here, and that's the kind of conversation I really like for us to have tonight, Mr. Smith. You stated, you finally now saying that yes, most of the time you say the engineering society or the engineering business, including the construction industry in Liberia, seem to be spectators in their own country. Now, there are those who will argue that perhaps being a spectators in your own country, you as an engineer or you as a construction company perhaps deserve to be spectators in your own country, because but most of the time they will argue, the other people will argue that most of these people are not even sincere. Now you talk about the Millennium Challenge, we put out contract, but they want you to be qualified with a specific qualification process. But many of these people fail to meet those challenges. So how then you will want the government or even private industry to give you contract when you cannot fulfill in completing those jobs? So are you not? Is that not a good argument for those who are arguing that perhaps Liberians themselves are bringing this on themselves because they fail to bring in qualified people to work with them?
Something again, I will say this. Um, the Millennium Challenge, hmm, in particular, was 252.7 million US dollars grant that was given to Liberia by the US government, right, for infrastructure development. By virtue of the fact, most of that money is supposed to remain in the country to build up the local economy. But it's not that the Liberians are not qualified technically to do the job. We are qualified. But this is where we are left out, or this is where we become spectators. Because the guy will come and say, okay, if you can do this job, but you have to show me a turnover of $50 million in the last 5 years. All right? I'm gonna have a qualified hydraulics, a qualified structure engineer, a qualified environmentalist, well trained. But when I get to that point, because in the last 5 years, I haven't had a $50 million turnover. So right there, I'm disqualified. Are you with me?
Yes.
It's not, let's understand it. It's not the technical qualification, because most of us were educated here in Liberia. Most of us have masters. There are some people there are some Liberians that have even double masters. Okay? Take for instance Professor Tule. He's a very experienced hydraulics. Okay? William Nyanu. You know William Nyanu. He's experienced. He has experienced hydraulics too. Okay? Charles Capital. These guys are experienced and well qualified and educated structural engineers and hydraulic in the country. But if you come to the technical, right, you can win the technical. But when you come to the financial, hey, come on, you're out, because you haven't made that substantial amount of profit to show on your books that yes, I have netted $50 million. So that is how most of the engineering firms are left out. So what do we do? So what we are doing now in the country is to partner with other companies, from the outside world, and good for us that the banks in Liberia and public works is now saying that any international contract must have a Liberian firm that they must partner with as a qualifying criteria before they can sit down for evaluation. So be it, yes, African Development Bank has delivered a lot of projects there now that we all express our interest, especially with the waterway transport in Monrovia. That is an African Development Bank project that we all express our interest, and we're all waiting for that. And there's 1 year now that is going from RRE for the design, the supervision of a dam, of the hydro dam to be built in River G. So now we all out here scouting for people that we can partner with. So that's how it is in Liberia.
I see. So, Mr. Smith, then the question once again, I hate to do this, but I'm still going to have to ask you. Who do you intend, who do you expect to actually build? Because it seems like what you just explained to me is that the capacity is not there. Financial capacity is not there. The technical capacity, numerous, as you just explained to us. How do you expect the private sector, a Liberian private sector in this engineering business, in this construction business, how do you expect to build this capacity, this financial capacity? How do you do that? Because when you partner with a foreign company, you're definitely not going to get 50%. you definitely you'll be lucky to get 25%. So with money that is going to be spent in Liberia, and you have 75% of that dollar amount being taken to a foreign land back home, whatever the company is coming from, how do you expect to build capacity for the Liberian engineering firm, Liberian construction firm to fully participate without being some sort of hang on engineer hanging on somebody's coattail? How do you expect to build that capacity, Mr. Smith?
And this is what we at Alliance, what we are doing. We are partnering with all these international firms. It means that we are building our engineering portfolio, we are building our engineering capability and our financial capability. So for now, the country will be in that direction until we ourselves now can have netted a lot of projects. And then we say, okay, we are there now and we can stand alone. But the technical part, we fit all the technical qualifications. And I can tell you, got qualified, competent engineers in Liberia, especially the young people, very innovative. So that the only way we build it is the way we're going now, to hang on somebody code for the next maybe 2-3 years until we can get that done. Or if public works is going and the Liberian government is going out now to negotiate this contract, they can take out some of those heavy financial, qualifying criteria for the tendering processes. So that would be another way to help people.
So then the question that I have for you, Mr. Smith, I hope you will agree with me that the international community or the international partner that bringing these contract to Liberia have no interest of making Liberians firm, construction firm, Liberian engineering firm to be adequately dependent on their own. Because if you're going to put any kinds of stringent procedures, knowing fully, and these people are not stranger to Liberia, knowing fully well that there's no Liberian engineering firm in Liberia that will come and say, in the last 5 years, I've done $50 million job, knowing the corrupt behavior that is happening in that country. So why would they themselves come up with these kinds of stuff? Have you ever had that kind of conversation with them, or do you have any insight on that at all?
Yeah, we have several conversations with them, especially with the World Bank, to see whether they can relax some of these, qualifying criteria, especially when it comes to the finances. But they are saying we cannot measure one firm with a different yardstick and measure another firm with another different yardstick. So what we can admonish you guys to do is to keep on, building your capacity by partnering with some of these companies to do these jobs. And now what is happening? Because I remember when I negotiated the project for the Somalia Drive in 2013-14. In 2013 was a public works. It was one of the questions that when I went to Japan I asked that, because if you're going to do this massive project in Liberia, and then Liberian firms have to benefit. So yes, they work with few of them, but then the Japanese company took bulk of the money home. So we just have to keep fighting and keep working at it to change the dynamics. But as far as concerned now, our little firms, we don't have that annual turnover. Now pass the board now.
So then let me, what kinds of help that this government of Liberia, not necessarily the executive alone, the lawmakers, are they aware of these kinds of things, the kinds of problems you guys are going through? The executive, are they aware of these kinds of things that you guys go? And if they are, what are some of the suggestions or some of the things that you think that they're doing or not doing to move you guys to the next level?
Okay, a case in point, the Liberian Road Fund. The Liberian Road Fund is a purely owned Liberian institution that raises money for the rehabilitation and the development of the road sector in Liberia. what they have done now, because of the financial situation we are faced with, they are now guaranteeing some of these projects. That yes, give the project to this guy. He has a track record, he has a contract with us, but you can give him at least $200,000 to do the job. So it cuts down, all of that headache of I don't have money to pre-finance this job to a certain level. So that's one of the things the government has done. And thanks to Benedict Boniface Statu, who is the road fund manager, who has agreed to do that. In fact, the banks in Monrovia now, RB Bank, what the other bank is, the LBDI, and UBC, United Bank of Africa, all of these banks they have agreed to help the Liberian engineering construction companies, especially construction companies, to release some of these, these requirements in getting pre-finances or getting loan to pre-finance some of these jobs. So that's one of the things that the Liberian government is doing now, because the fund itself, it's like every petroleum product that comes to Liberia, a certain percentage of the amount is being kept by the finance ministry and is being expended to do roads and road rehabilitation in Liberia. So that's one way they are helping us now. So you find that the smaller contractors are getting low benefits from most of these banks.
So let's go back to your organization now, and try to see if we can tie it in there, and then after that I can try to go into the experience and what have you. Your organization, which is the overall umbrella organization for the Liberian engineers in Liberia, what are you doing, or what do you plan to do? How do you plan to engage the government and the international community? Because it seems to me that you're in a perfect position, because you have experienced it yourself personally and professionally. You have experienced a hard time, and now you're representing the group. How do you now try to take this experience from your perspective and take it back to the government or take it back to the international community? How you think what they need to do to help you move these things forward?
Okay, the first and foremost thing is that we just signed an MOU with the Ministry of Public Works to carry on certain tasks, because the Ministry of Public Works is a statutory institution that is responsible for infrastructure. That's the first thing. So what we are doing now, we are now licensing our engineers and our contractors. But that is under the Ministry of Public Works, because Ministry of Public Works today can say, look, I don't want you to exercise this right anymore, so give it back to us. So what we're doing now first is to make sure that the act to establish the Engineering Society of Liberia is passed. That's one thing that we have done, and we have already gone ahead to present the draft act to the House. It will pass. We are confident that this term around, the act going to pass and establish us as an entity standing on our own and take those responsibilities of licensing engineers and monitoring engineers per their code of ethics. So that's the first thing we are doing. The second thing we're looking at now is to have peer reviews. Peer review is very important. We want to make sure that our engineers are qualified and they can exchange notes based on what they have through articles or through designs. So we are now working with one of the Liberian experienced engineer who will also be sitting on that committee to help us to do the peer review. So at least we'll be publishing articles. Take for example, when we were at the convention, a presentation was made by one Victor from Simeco. The product that is being added into the manufacture of cement, the Poland cement, was discovered in Liberia. So now the importation of that particular mineral has been reduced. but we need to qualify that and write a technical paper on it. How we are, the quantity that is available in Liberia, what are the chemistry, and how best we can improve that so we Liberians now can benefit. So that's one thing. We're going to be doing engineering continuing education because what has happened is that most of the engineers that come from school, they just come from school, right? So they are green. They know a lot of theory, but they don't know the practical part of the engineering. Because you have to blend the two to have a complete product. So we will now be doing what you call graduate engineering program, and probably will be the one that will be able to host that. We also will talk to telecom to host that because we have some guys who are in telecommunication. So that's one of the things we do, and of course we will be working, as I told you from the beginning, to make sure that we are part of these international engineering organizations so that we can benefit from the training. So these are some of the things that we have lined up to help our engineers to make them, proficient and be capable, working out of Liberia. In fact, I just wrote a request to NCEES, the National Council of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors in America, to see whether they can start administering the P exam and the ERT exam in Liberia under the auspices of the Engineering Society of Liberia. So we are waiting for the reply.
Mr. Smith.
So we want to be doing that.
That would be a wonderful. That would be a wonderful thing to have. But I think thank you, folks. If you're listening, Samson to LeBron Public Radio. My guest this evening is my own best friend, Mr. Victor Smith, the wonderful Victor Smith that I've always talked about. Yeah, he is. This is the man who, as an engineer, I respect him a lot. He's a friend. But right now, Victor and myself, my man, let's put a friendship business one side for let's do the pro work. We can be friends later. And when we become friends, and when we start talking to our friend, he has a crown for me, and I will let him to spell the crown up tonight on this public radio so that you people will understand that not only Mr. Alfonso Zionso think that I'm somebody else, Mr. Smith also have a crown for me, and he will tell us tonight. But anyway, let's do.
You don't want me to do that over air tonight. You don't want me to do that.
Mr. Smith, what did people do to me? Well, it doesn't matter to me. Anyway. But let's go on.
Yeah, that correlation of calling you as the man that is name I don't want to call will be done in the offices of Alliance. It will not be
done. Yeah, okay. All right. But anyway, let's go into the technical aspect of things tonight. You stated something earlier about the young engineers that are coming of age graduating from school and things like that. Let's go a little bit into the lesson, the stuff that is being taught in the different universities. Are you, and you being a tough engineer, not only do you have masters in it, but you graduated from I believe from LU, which was a very tough university at the time. How is that time compared to now? These young people that are coming up, you're asking and you're getting ready to put your neck on the line to have, and if you're successful, that will be a good one, to have engineering neck in here in America to administer a test in Liberia. Are you sure these young people are they capable of passing the EIT in the first place?
Engineering education all over the world is the same. And the quality of the students we have in Liberia, somehow, because of the war situation, we have lost some of them. But they are capable. They can make it. Because what we want to do is to look at the EIT exam or once we are accepted that the test will be waiting in Liberia, we'll take that test in Liberia. We have to look at the curriculum because the test that is done, it comes from a defined and well talked through curriculum. We'll do what you call curriculum review, both at the University of Liberia, at Stella Marie, and if possible, TC, and see whether the curriculum that they are offering or they are using for engineering education at those schools are in line with what is being in line with the questions that will be done from the test. So that's the first thing we have to do. Once that is done, then we have to find the competent and qualified professors. And this now will be done in line with the universities, where we have seminars, and there will be trainers, trainers training, right? Teach one, don't teach one, teach all. So those kind of things we have to do that because yes, the curriculum might be the same, but the presentation also has a problem because in my own experience, uh, pre-calculus is taught in high school in the US now, right? For Ilabro, pre-calculus is taught as the first math class or the first mathematics in at the university. So can we now rethink the curriculum and say, okay, can we now start introducing pre-calculus, at the high school level, linear algebra, right? Can we now start introducing that? Because the ERT test itself is a test that is what they call fundamental of engineering. It's the physics, the mathematics, the engineering economics, the thermodynamics. Those are the fundamentals that they will offer. So once we are being allowed that yeah, the test will be administered in Liberia, even if we are not allowed, we will still have to train our people because we have intention. If US doesn't allow us, we will also go to the West region because we have the Engineering Society of Ghana, we have the Engineering Society of South Africa, and these are all good schools. We have the Engineering Society of Egypt, okay, in North Africa, the African Federation of Engineering Organizations. Egypt is a member, so we have to work with all these people to upgrade our curriculum to be able to fit the 20th century and 21st century testing curriculum that is being conducted by the US, so that when our guys leave from there, the PE in Monrovia is equivalent to PE in America. All right. So those are things that we are working because we need to be recognized. The English Society of America of Liberia need to be recognized and stand at the crossroad and say, yeah, I can go to London and my professional engineering degree is accepted. I can go to America. I can go any part of Europe and my degree is accepted. So those are things we're working on, and it is possible. It might not be in 2 years, but it's something that is around the horizon.
I see. Okay. I mean, I don't want to go too much into the curriculum and teaching and everything here tonight. I hope that once you get back home and if there's a need again for Samson Tour, I don't mind doing what we did before. Come down there and then offer my help. Whatever classes that I have to offer, I don't mind doing that. I'm always willing, especially when you call. Anytime you call, I'm not going to think twice. I will be coming. So just remember, we're here as well to help. Whatever kinds of help we can give, we will do that. Now, let me go back into this student situation again. There are some students coming from Liberia that I have come across lately, but these young people are unable to fold a plan, to fold a plan. They are not able. Yeah. They're from I don't call it startup Maria or whatever Maria they come. They are unable to fold a plan, and many of them, if you give them a plan to read, roadway plan, or even structure plan, They found it difficult to read. I'm not too sure why it was, but when you ask them to do moment share diagram, they can do that. When you ask them to do simple bean calculation, they can do that. But to see it on the paper and say this is what it is and this is represent, that's kind of difficult a little bit. I'm not too sure why, but that's not my issue right now. What I want to find out from you is you stated earlier that your intent is to build capacity for Liberian engineers and Liberian engineering firm and what have you. Mr. Smith, I've worked with you before. I do roadway design, and I've seen things that comes out of public works, to be honest with you. And every time when I bring that up, even in our own private conversation, this is something that you hate. You don't like me to say that. You go, my man, we're working hard here, we're struggling. I understand all of that. But you have people highly educated engineers working at public works, but yet still they are unable to do simple inspection. They have public work ministry that will take drawing from Ghanaians and giving them curve of the road. You and I have talked about it, and I got many of those drawings that you sent me. Many of those things that the young people from Ghana or whatever, they will come and do drawing of a road. That is so much substandard, but it's been accepted by public works. Why is that? Is it because they don't look at those things or they just think that these things are acceptable? How are you going to build a road with no side slope and you expect the road to hang up there? What's going to hold it up? So these are you guys looking at all kinds of stuff?
Yeah, we recognize that. We recognize that some of the things that come out of public works as a government entity are not at its best because we know that there are some lapses in the ministry. And how do we correct this? Because if an engineer from Liberia, right, makes a blunder, it means that all engineers in Liberia are part of that. So we now, as Engineering Society of Liberia, we want to be working with public works. We will be working with them, especially the documents, especially the documents that are used for tendering. We need to work with them, right? I mean, hands on with them, so that we can qualify these documents and make them better. So that at least they come out. When they come out, they will say, yes, this is a well thought through project. So yes, we recognize the fact. There's a serious problem. There's a serious technical problem at the Ministry of Public Works. And I'll be the first person to raise the flag. But our ability to correct those, those mistakes will carry us a long way. And that's what the Engineering Society will be doing. When I first posted that on the website, I have a friend called what his name is McCready. He's an architect, very good architect, outstanding architect. But you know what happened? The man moved out of Liberia. He moved to Ghana because he got frustrated. He couldn't get job. I mean, everywhere McCready going to say, "Oh, you too critical. Oh, you did." So I posted on Facebook. I said, "Well, he posted something first, a very bad kind of job." So I posted back and said, "Look, public works they will do better, and we in Engineering Society work with." He said, "I wish you the best." I mean, there's a brother who has given up on Liberia. You understand it? So that's how bad the situation is. So yes, some of the works that come from public works are horrible. But again, I can be here and say, "Oh, I will beat them down." No. There must be a change in plan so that we all,
Mr. Smith, I don't mean to interrupt, but let me push you a little bit on that as well. You have, besides the road issue, here in the United States or any other place, the building, you have a building core. I'm not too sure if Liberia has a building core, but you have people building industrial building with no parking lot. You have people building industrial building with no setback. The 40-foot setback that is required in every engineering construction design, they don't even have it. You have situation in Liberia that even, I'm not too sure what kinds of utility engineering they have over there. I'm not even going to comment on that. But you have people in Liberia, and not, like I said, I've worked with you. You and I have worked on a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to go into those. But there are people in Liberia that will accept a contract or a contractor to do a job without even sizing the pipe, without even doing a drainage calculation in the area. How much water is coming into that pipe? We saw Dole Community. They built it right before my own eyes. And none of you, nobody, no engineer in Liberia were able to put out their hand to say, this is wrong. This is wrong. You can't construct.
Those are political. Those are political practices.
But I understand these are political. I understand it, Mr. Smith. I understand these are political issues. But there are roads that will be on there after the political season finish. Those roads remains within the community. Those roads remain for our people to use. And many of you know these things are wrong, but nobody is saying nothing. Is that a reason why you guys are quiet on this?
I beg to differ with you.
Okay.
Right?
That's what I want. That's what I want, please.
In some instances, right? You visit the site, right? And you see that the work is wrong. All we have to do is to raise the flag and say, hey, this is wrong. This is how you should do it. That will solve the problem, right? And the contractor comes around and says, look, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it anyway. Then the consulting firm that is on the job will go out and say, look, this is wrong. And the guy says, I will do it the way I want to do it. And the ministers or the director general will not say anything. All right? So it makes the person weak. There's now a case in point, a particular road that connects from the relay, they call it the pipeline road, all the way to Johnsonville and on to Kakata. It's a very good stretch of road. The road got completed in less than a month, and it started to fail. Right before the eye of the engineer, but the engineer guy, the engineering company that was supervising the job, told the people that the asphalt had too much, bitumen in it. It was bleeding. The sub base and the sub grade was not well prepared. So the moment they decided to load the road, it started to fail.
Of course.
But what that engineer did, and I applaud him for that, is that he made sure he had all the letters that was written to this contractor and even copied to the Minister of Public Works. So you can have this kind of thing. You can have it. Some people, because of their close proximity with the government, they're knowing gospel. You say the asphalt you bring in here must be about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? And I must stick my temperature gauge in there and make sure that our temperature at which it arrived there is there. But sometimes the asphalt arrives there as a cake. The entire top part is already done. Why are you laughing? It's a fact.
Okay, well, this is Liberia.
And the supervising engineer said, look, don't dump the asphalt. The asphalt is not good. The guy said, no, I will dump it. And when he dumps it, the supervising consulting firm raised the issue. They said, oh, leave that man. By the time the road is done, it's already dead. will die a natural death, will die on arrival. These are things that are
But
happening.
Mr. Smith, and I hate to put you people in this kind of position because these are people you have to work with, and I understand that. But the point is, and many of you can write. Can you not take into the airwave? Can you not go and write about these things? And the director general that is responsible point him out. Or those are, if those things are difficult to be done in Liberia itself, and I know you guys have to live with these people, pass the information on to the people, or friends, or people perhaps will be able to blow the whistle on these things. My reason here is not so much of saying this government is bad or that government is bad. These are products that you expect to last for 20 years. It costs money. Now, for example, the road you just talked about, even if the road is bad, they're going to have to reconstruct it. Where the money coming from? Somebody have already
It's
pocketed
a
that
waste of
money. See, so that's
yeah.
what. But anyway, let's move on. That's another issue.
Yeah, with the wrecking part, let me speak to that one before.
Okay.
There is a project. There is a project that is being earmarked in Monrovia, and this has an engineering problem, an engineering defect, and the project is called the Invisible Park. I guess you heard about the Invisible Park. Somewhere
Yes.
at the end of the airstrip, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, that went there, and I must commend one of our guys, one of our engineers. For me, I really wanted to take it on because after we look at it and we did all the FAA, look at every standards, the article of I think 14, section 4, about what's supposed to be constructed in the proximity of the airstrip at the end of the airstrip. We were anticipating on that. Then my guy said, no, Victor, let's leave it as it is yet because we are trying to get our act, then we can act. So we said, okay, no problem. But we were on a talk show and they wanted to bring it out. I said, no, we will advise the government behind the scene. But before we could reach that point, Bob Zioka, one of our engineers, came up with a complete analysis of why this particular thing was wrong, and it is wrong. We can't build it within certain proximity of the airport. And I must commend him for that. So for now, we see what's kind of writing.
Okay.
It's nothing about I'm a member of UP or a member of CDC because we are going to deal with these things purely on a professional basis.
Okay.
That this can be done. This is how it should be done, and you should make sure to correct it. So yes, the writing part we are started already.
Okay. One last question, and I'm going to be opening the line here very shortly for anybody who wants to call in. One last question on that. I know when I was in Liberia, right in front of your office, they have the ditch. They were digging a ditch, and they had a concrete. I'm not too sure what they call it, concrete box cover, whatever you want to call it, because I'm not going to call it drainage system. I'm not too sure what it is, but anyway, we'll leave it as that. But my main thing that I want to pick up on is here, they have a system, the way of doing those type of stuff in Liberia, where you have miles and miles of of steel rods sticking out without any kinds of rebar plastic being capped on top of the steel rod. And if you can remember, when you and I went to do the concrete pour that night, right by the same airfield you're talking about, and one of the first things I told those Chinese that you can have a steel, even at night, you can't have these steel bars sticking up like this here without putting and if you don't have the plastic cap on it, you have to remove it, and you have to do it at night. But the point here is, why is it that public work will let these things happen in Liberia, especially near schoolhouse, where the rebar sticking up with no cap on these things? And even if you think rubber cap is expensive, we have wood in Liberia. You can take 2x2 and put it right over the rebar. Why these things are not being done? For safety.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. safety is being compromised in the Liberian construction industry. And it happened this way. Ministry of Public Works too is underfunded. The inspection rate at the ministry, right, doesn't have the vehicle to even do these inspections. I told you the last time we discussed that within the statutory responsibility of public works, before any structure is occupied, public works must issue a letter of a certificate of occupancy that is on the books for years. But is public works doing it? No. Why? Because once public works approves that plan, probably leave the contractor go and do whatever they want to do. But if public work is manning these construction sites and make sure that your license will be in trouble or will be cancelled if you work unsafely on your site, especially leaving the rebars hanging out like that, then of course the people will start to do it. But public work is challenged when it comes to doing these inspections. So it's not that they don't know it, but they don't have the time to go on the site. They don't have the finances to get the trucks or the pickups that will carry them there. So this is what's happening. It's not that they don't know, but all in all, we say Liberia development is a tree in motion. We can't do all at one time. Remember, we had a 20-year civil crisis in the country, and we are just coming back to put all of these things in place. So yes, we will get there. And we also know about that particular safety issue, safety violation that is being carried out by most of the contractors.
I see. Okay, folks, I'm going to be opening the line, and those of you that are listening, if you have questions for me or Mr. Smith, and we're talking engineering here tonight. So if you have questions, this is the number you can call and let us know. If not, we don't have to stay here that long, Mr. Smith. It's just coming from Liberia, so he still have the Liberia nighttime, the time factor still hanging over his head, and he hasn't actually gotten used to the time here. So we're not going to keep him like this long tonight. So while we're waiting for you guys to call, anybody you want to call, give us a call here, 916-533-2048. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I can combine. I can merge the call. So, Mr. Smith, while we're waiting for the call, once again, I want to, on a very serious note, now that you are president of the organization Liberian Engineers in Liberia,
Engineering Society of Liberia. Why are you having problem to pronounce it? Why are you having problem with that?
I want to hear about you. You not start right away. You come and start right away, and you're
Engineering Society of Liberia. Difficult thing to say.
I'm not member of your society for me to know your thing. What you call it society for anyway? That you let Liberia, you let society business. Why you coming to town call it pure engineer business? You come and call it society. I hope that I'm big society business in there to you.
That's a professional group. That's why you call it society.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Engineering Society of Liberia. No, on a very serious note, Mr. Smith, if you guys need any help in terms of lecturing or in terms of even doing presentation and whatever that I have to do to make sure to impact some of the young kids that are among you, I don't mind doing so, and I don't mind coming to do it again.
On our program for continuing education for engineers, yes, we'll be needing you. So just get your bags packed. Once we have worked with the University of Liberia and Stella Marie to develop a curriculum, we'll be calling on you. Count on me for that. That's something that will be my legacy.
Okay.
We'll make sure that
whatever we have to. And just also remember, if you guys need, in fact, don't put it that way. Let me ask you a question. Are you guys looking at having some sort of library where engineering books, whether it be old books or whatever book, from the
Yeah,
different states.
yes, yes. That is something that the previous administration was doing it, and we intend to continue it. That we have a library at the office, at our offices in public works. We have a computer, we have computers, and we have some books donated by some people. So if you have some books, some codes that you can give us, we will take that and use as a training material for our people. So yes, we have a library.
Okay. Well, when I'm coming, like I did before, I'll bring some more books again. But are you guys thinking about trying to revisit the building core issue in Liberia as an engineering organization?
Yes, as I said, those are things we have to tackle, but it requires money. So what we will be doing is that we'll be reaching out to the international community like USAID, CEDA, to see whether we can get a grant to produce, a Liberian billing code. So yes, that we want to do is something that we really, really want to do because the codes that we are using are either adapted from the US or that of Europe. So do our own code will put us on top of things. Yes, we have to do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's get out of engineering business. You care to talk a little bit of Liberian politics, or you don't think that's something you care to talk about right now?
We can talk about it. Man, by nature, we are all political beings. In
Okay.
fact, the businesses we do,
Okay. Then
um,
I will start
it's
with
heavily guided.
I will start with ourselves. Victor and I will belong to a political party, which I'm not going to name. I will let him expand on that. What's the deal with Musa Ability and Liberty Party?
I think that was a fundamental mistake. In as much that I don't team random judgment on Musa ability, but he was in the situation of something with FIFA, and I think the Liberty Party should have right done due diligence right before electing him or appointing him as chairperson of the of Liberty Party. But how be it, I think at this point in time, the only thing that Liberty when it is Musa has to do is to go back and get clearance from FIFA. Okay, because you cannot go back and undo the election that was held. But you gotta go back and get some clearance from FIFA that yeah, this case is done and you are not found guilty. I think that would be a logical thing that they can do.
Are you still a member
So
of
that
any political
would,
party? May I ask?
but I'm a member of Liberty Party.
I
But
just
if
don't.
you say active,
I just
I'm not as active as I used to be. I told you, I'm not as active as I used to be. But I'm still a member. I'm a
thank
car
you.
holding member of the party.
So am I. So am I. We both was
Yes,
act.
we are the original founders of Liberty Party.
I agree.
I told you very in Las Vegas, and we had the original manifesto of the Liberty Party was drafted there. And the original manifesto of the Liberty Party was not just only a political party. But our intention was to create jobs.
Right.
And one of the things that we earmarked that time was to go into the water business.
Right.
And, we have a water business. But then when Councillor Broskin got to Monrovia and Kofa then got to Monrovia, they changed the whole thing for Liberty Party. But a Liberty Party,
I'm
a
not too
Liberty
sure
Party that
why many of you seem to be surprised when Kofa got to Liberia, because when we went to Las Vegas, Kofa's position was very clear. Whatever way that we have to do, I don't. He said it plainly. However way we're going to do to get money, I don't care what we do, which was a little bit different from the way some of us felt because if we're thinking that the government is corrupt or what have you, and then you're saying that you want to come in and do whatever you have to, then just didn't sit well for many of us. But I'm not surprised. But anyway, let's move on. So with the Musability issue here with Liberty, with respect to Liberty Party, our political leader, Madam Lawrence, who is a senator from Grand Bassa County, is now the chairperson for the CPP. How do you think the Musability issue, if it's not resolved, how you think the Liberty Party will continue to carry on leadership and try to criticize government with respect to misbehaving, corruption, and everything when they themselves proceed to be in that kinds of limelight as well?
Yeah, Musa Bede is not yet found guilty by what they are saying, the argument. But one other school of thought saying that he was found guilty and he was banned for I think 10 years or so from anything about that had to do with FIFA. So to correct that error, we need Mr. Ability needs to go back to FIFA and hear what FIFA says on the issue of his problem with FIFA. In the absence of that, we have a problem. Because who comes with the guy who comes with equity must come with what? Clean hands. So there's something now that Chairman Lawrence has to take very serious to make sure that there's something is corrected. I think with that, then we are heading somewhere. Or not just other than just pushing it under the wall. Because now what we're looking for, people are looking at CPP to produce the next government in waiting that what CDC was before. But you can't do this, with all these missteps. So basically,
my own argument, and I've been arguing over and over. I also saying that Musability should be given the opportunity to clear his name. But I also say that Liberty Party and they need to come out front to say what is happening with Musability, and don't just keep it secret or not talking anything because people will improvise. Another thing is, if this thing is not resolved, Liberty Party going into 2023 election, Unity Party and ANC will most likely leave Liberty Party behind, because you're not going to have Liberty Party to lead you when it has this serious perception issue with respect to corruption. Because meaning like Lawrence are not satisfied because Musability need is not yet being cleared out. So I think they need to do that. By the way, one last question, and I will take leave of you. I know you're kind of tired rocking back and forth. I know who you are. But one last question that I have for you. No, two questions. One after this, and I have another one. So now I know you're going to be going back to Liberia very shortly. What are some of the things that you're taking from here, or that you hope to take out of this place as president of the Engineering Society in Liberia? What are some of the goodies that you're going to take out of here that these young men and sisters, brothers and sisters that are depending on your leadership, will be happy to receive you with?
Yeah, two things that I'm looking at. Starting the first one, there is a University of Wisconsin as in Madison. I'm working to see whether we can establish a relationship for this continuing education for program there. Once I can get the
yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, but Victor, can I hear you? Hold on 1 minute. Let me see if I can merge. Let me call you back. I
already started the other one.
Let me call you back, Mr. Josh.
That NCES can accept us as an affiliate member so that we can be able to give these exams. So basically, those are
the two more important things I'm hoping to get my hands around before I leave.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to connect somebody else. They want to ask you a question, but I'm having some issue here trying to connect you with. Let me see, Mr. Smith. Is it besides me doing what we're doing? Is that do you care to go back into your onto your whatchamacallit, your laptop, and we go just stay on that and carry the volume up and see if we're going to be helped by that.
Okay, I should go my laptop again.
Yeah, let's see if we're going to be able to get you from there.
Okay, let me go back and increase the volume again.
Yeah, but this time you got to take the mic, or you got to on the mic, turn the mic back on.
Okay, adjust the volume. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
But I'm still trying to get the volume issues straightened out.
Let's do the phone. Let me call the phone off a minute and see if you can hear me. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Smith? No. Okay.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you
hear me too?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. So I know you might be able to hear Mr. Josh. Let me call Mr. Josh and maybe you might be able to hear his question. Okay. Let me call Mr. Josh.
Is it Timberland Josh?
Yeah, Amos Josh.
Oh, okay. There's a sister show that
He's not answering.
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Josh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Smith, can you hear Mr. Josh?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, Mr. Josh, go ahead and say he can hear you. Mr. Josh, go ahead. Amos Josh.
You drop off this.
Hello, Samson to Labron Public Radio. What's your name? Where you're calling from? What's on your mind? Hello? Well, I'm not getting these people. Oh, hold on, guys. My goodness. Okay. So, hello, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now you should be able to hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead. Mr. Smith, can you hear this person?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, ask your question. Hello?
Oh. Yes, you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. George, let this guy answer a question, then you can go. Go ahead. The two of you on here.
Okay, yeah. So that just a question. Do the government of Liberia and this committee maintenance of the road for years when the construction is done by then? Or it's just that when they done the construction to go on and that's it?
Yeah, there are two kind of projects that is running in Liberia now.
Hold on. Let me take this other person. Guy, if you're back there, you have to remove yourself. Hello?
Are you talking to me?
No, the other guy that is on there. Let me off there.
The Monrovia Banga.
Mr. George, can you hear me?
And the Monroe and the Banga Ganta.
I can hear you. Or you want?
No, I think I dropped. Okay. Hold on. Mr. Smith, hold on 1 minute. Let me call Mr. Josh. Sir, I will call you right back, please. I think if I do two here, it's creating problem. Let me call Mr. Josh again. Okay. We'll soon be wrapping up. Mr. Smith, just be patient with me here, man.
Hello?
Okay, yeah. All right. Victor, go ahead. You were answering the question.
Yeah, the question of maintenance.
So are you talking about Mr. Victor?
Mr. George, Mr. George, you got to mute yourself.
Okay, okay, okay.
The question of maintenance is something that we hold in high esteem. So for the jobs that are being done now, especially for the main highways, like from Monrovia to Banga, then Banga to Kanta, is done on the OPRC form of contracting. The contractor takes the project for 10 years, and he uses 2 years for construction, and then he maintains the road until the 8th year. Once he reaches the 8th year, he has to come back and do the overlay again, giving the life expectancy of the road. Now, what I also
Wonderful.
know from Polo West, yeah, what I know from Polo West now is that they have the maintenance regime. They are developing a software called the RAM, and that RAM will help us to make sure to tell us which one of the roads what time is ready for maintenance, and then the budget will be made from the money that's been collected from the road fund to to keep the road in a pliable condition. So yes, maintenance is in works in order to work.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Josh. I think he dropped already. So I'm having so much issue here with this. The other guy was calling as well. So I think let me call him back. One other person was calling here. Let's do him a favor here and call him back to see if he has a question, and then that will be the last one.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Do you have questions for
Yes?
Mr. Smith?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Smith, and thank you for quoting Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
hello?
Yeah, go ahead. He
Oh,
can hear you.
Hello, I'm here.
my question has to do with the structure or the layout of street, especially with a new place, the Marshall community. Our experience has seen, that most of the streets, or the layout of Monroe have created, problems that people have to pass between people, yeah, or their houses, to get to the other place. What is the engineering, society doing, or recommendation do they have for the Liberian government in laying out the street, so that it will be, well structured, that water will be flow, that people will have easy access to their home? What are they doing?
Thank you.
Okay. The Engineering Society is a non-governmental agency. You know that. So all we can do is to make recommendations for the upkeep of the the structures or the design of those structures. But by right, the way I know our communities are built is first to do the utilities, you do the roads, you do the utilities, then you do the surface runoff, you do the drainages before you can start constructing. But in Liberia, it's the other way around. The guy will have a bad road leading to his site. Instead of him fixing that road first before starting to construct his house, he immediately starts to construct his house. And it is very difficult to even move materials around there. But again, we can say that, hey, we got to keep talking to the government, especially the Land Commission and its auxiliaries, that before people can start doing this construction, these places must be well laid out. All the drainages must be done before, because even the way the surveyors do their layout, they gave either a 20 feet or a 25 feet alley, and also those one leads to the road. So for now, the guys are yet doing what they want to do, but we as the engineering society, we have to work with the government to see how best this can be done before the construction to take out of the surface runoff and all these situations we have, in these neighborhoods.
Okay, Mr. Smith. Thank you very much. That's going to be our last question. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity again. We hope that before you leave to go back to Liberia, that we'll have another shot at this and have another opportunity to have a discussion with you at the time. So please let us know when it will be possible to have you on again, because I think it's very important that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora understand exactly what is happening, because you have some young Liberians that are also into engineering. And many of them, just like we were when we were young, this is a profession that when you get in, your first thought is how can you help Liberia before you start thinking about money. So there are many of these young people that are thinking and getting into the engineering business with the mindset of trying to help Liberia. So if they find out that they have an engineering organization in Liberia that perhaps they also can gravitate towards, I think it would be good. But other than that, is there anything else we're missing tonight you care to talk about?
Yeah. The board chairperson of ESO just arrived yesterday. So I think we should try to get it on board next time we'll be talking. So he took him to give his perspective from the board standpoint, the Indian Society of Liberia Board. So I will meet up with him and also explain to him that the Liberian Public Radio is willing to have us on the show again, and perhaps we can have an interaction with him on the ESO, the rebrand of ESO. Again, thank you again very much for the opportunity, and I'm always available to come on your show, even though you sometimes try to be very stubborn. Again, I want to thank you for the work you're doing.
One thing I love about him, you always let us start confusion with people.
It's not no confusion. I'm thanking you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
folks.
You have the country at heart.
The what?
You have the country at heart. You have the country at heart.
Thank you.
They are the kind of people that will be around to make our country. And together we'll do a great nation. So I want to thank you again for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Talking to you.
And we'll say good night to you now. Thank you very much, folks. Again, this is Samson to Liberia Public Radio. We're here this evening. Our guest, Mr. Smith, who is also a good friend of mine. Mr. Smith, thank you very much. And hopefully we will get you and with the board chair, both of you can join us here. And hopefully we'll be invited by that time. We might even have our CEO to host you and the board chair, Mr. Alfonso Zionso, to host both of you together on another platform. I mean, same Liberian Public Radio platform, but another device that he will use. So I'll talk to him and see what his schedule is and what your schedule is going to be, and then we'll try to arrange it.
I'm trying to organize to come to you and
what?
I say I'm trying to come to you. Maybe I'll be paying you a visit. Let's see how things go. Because I'm here for a long time. I'll be here for a month, a couple of days.
Okay.
So then we can organize that. Having said that, I want to thank you again.
We'll be ready for you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Again, folks, Samson to Liberian Public Radio. We want to thank all of you. This is what we do here on Liberian Public Radio. Hopefully, the next time that we will have Mr. So to host Mr. Smith and the board of director for the Liberian engineer in Liberia. And hopefully the system, of course the system worked here for us tonight. We appreciate it. And those of you that just joined us or that was here with us, we say thank you very much. We appreciate it. These are all engineering subject matter, and we're glad to have Mr. Smith to talk to us about it. And nobody is here to say the government doing X, Y, and Z. I just want to point out some of the flaw in terms of engineering practices that is happening in Liberia. Anyway, folks, thank you very much, and you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Monday afternoon. Please stay safe out there. The disease is still out there, so please stay safe, and let's do it again. We'll be back here, hopefully by Wednesday. Mr. Soul is going to host us, and we will be here and to express our liberal view. Oh, I'm working on another thing here. We had a program last night, which was a very wonderful program, of course, which had us discussing about the progressive and the brothers and sisters progressive. and people are trying to shift blame, I would say, on the progressive. The progressive have not failed Liberians. If you fail, Liberians fail themselves. The progressive can only take you to the water. They can't make you to drink the water. You don't want to drink, nobody will force you. But they can show you how to get to the water. They will even take you to the water side itself and say, yeah, the water there. If you don't want to drink it, then what you want people to do? Force you? Far from it. We progressive, we don't do those things. The liberal progressive specifically, I show you. You make your own choice. Your choice is yours. I'm not here to enforce my will on anybody. Samson told. Folks, thank you very much. And let's meet again. Let's do it again by Wednesday, and we'll be back. Thank you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful good night.
Otalelanga bana yanga molimo na miteki ikambo nasali te bakopanzanga sango Kinshasa mobima bakotongoka kombo na ngai ekomango lisolo ya bato soki bakolia mpo batongoko bafingaka nsima basambwisanga natula te ope nazanga te nazali na mobali oyo akokanga na makambo maso nalingaka naye lelo na lopango na bino mpo nayebisa yo oyebisa baninga na yo bana lelo bosukisa na kombo nanga ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki aye kotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya kartie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki aye kotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya kartie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa kobotalelanga bana yanga molimo na miteki likambo nasali te bakopanzanga sango Kinshasa mobimba bakotongonga kombo na ngai ekomango lisolo ya bato soki bakolia mpo batongoko bafingaka nsima basambwisanga natula te ope nazanga te nazali na mobali oyo akokanga na makambo maso nalingaka naye lelo na lopango na bino mpo nayebisa yo oyebisa baninga na yo bana lelo bosukisa na kombo nanga ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki aye kotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya kartie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa ezali mobali na yo azali mwa serie soki aye kotala yo mosala na ye kotala basi nyonso ya kartie na bilongi mpe kopepapepa ye na tembe o na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na tembe o
nga na ye na tembe na lopango na bino kosukisa na ye na ye na ye na tembe o na ye na tembe bopandanga bolambanga bosasanga bolambanga bonginya
na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na tembe o
mama
na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na tembe o
ekpekete ya mobali oyo nga na kokufela na ye namona ye na ye na tembe o mobali yango kowapi ye natala na miso na ye na ye na ye na tembe o mama
na ye na ye na ye
na ye na ye na ye
na ye na tembe o
mama
na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na tembe o
na ye na teme na lopango na bino na ye bobeta ngai na ye kosukisa ekwekete ya mobali ngai na bino tokowela sapato etengama simise pasuka na mokongo
na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na tembe o
na ye na teme
na ye na ye na ye
mwana
na ye na ye na ye na tembe o